For our next session, small, traditional, and unique, we have Ms. Gurmeet Sachdev, an industry expert. Joining Gurmeet on stage is Ms. Archana Ram, VP Real Estate and Development, IHCL. Mr. Kush Kapoor, Chief Executive Officer, Roseate Hotels and Resorts. Mr. Lakshyaraj Singh Mewar, Executive Director, Historic Resort Hotels. And Ms. Sonavi Kaicker, Chief Executive Officer, Neemrana Hotels.
Yeah. Please. Good afternoon, everybody. So I am very happy to announce that I have the most happiest homegrown panel in HICSA for sure today. These are the companies who have made money during COVID, unlike other hotel groups. So we will start right away with Kush Kapoor.
So introduction?
Sorry?
Introduction?
Everybody knows you, yes?
Okay. So I take care of the Roseate brand. I was fortunate enough to open the brand 5 years back. I'm the CEO of the company. Obviously, it's not the Roseate Hotels and Resorts. I've been fortunate enough to open the biggest ice skate ring and the only ice skate ring in the country, 15,000 square feet. We are also started opening up our food cafes, co-working space. 3 of them are live and active right now. And that's the way moving ahead right now.
So how has COVID been for this pandemic? We all know that you have done very well in terms of revenues, unlike other hotel groups. So we would like to understand from you the numbers, how it has been with guest experience, everything. How do you see, even post-pandemic, do you see the progress as you are experiencing right now?
5 years in the making, I would say. 3 hotels in UK, they were all acquired 100% by us. So that's under the Roseate brand. We're talking about London, Reading, and Bath City. Very boutique hotels. Ranging from 175 years old to 225 years old boutique hotels. 3 in India, 2 in Delhi, which we are aware of that, Roseate House in Aero City and the Roseate in New Delhi. We opened up Rishikesh Resort, only 17 private villas, handful, beautifully made. Thanks to COVID on a positive side, I know we all have suffered a lot, but if I talk about exclusive, that property, I've recovered the entire money in last 2 years' time. The entire ROI of the property has come out and it's all into profits right now. I do see the way things moving out, even if we are moving, and yes, we are moving out of the COVID, and that's a good sign for the entire industries all across the globe, I would say. I do see this as a positive trend, especially when I'm talking about Indians being the second largest travelers in the world. We guys are the youngest generation population in the entire world, I would say. And it's still going to be, I guess, a couple of more weeks, if not the months, that Indians would be allowed to travel abroad. So which means the domestic travel is still going to happen. The winter and the festive season is already on board right now, which means this is only going to get more revenues moving in, at least for next couple of months.
Lakshyaraj, you've been in this business for since early 60s. You have the best palaces, everything. What has your experience been? You were shut consciously for all this while, just opened 35 days back. So would you like to shed some light on your take on how the progress you see for your palaces?
Greetings, good afternoon to everyone here. One thing I certainly like to mention that if this hall was even full, अगर ये पूरा भरा हुआ भी होता ना तो शायद सुनने वाले उतने ही होते जितने अभी मौजूद हैं. So thank you so much for being here. उम्मीद मेरे को पीछे वालों से ज़्यादा है. But coming back to your question, I think it's a guessing game. And I don't think we are in the business of guessing. So at this point in time, anybody can take a shot in the dark and make a statement, and by fluke or hook or by crook, it could come true. But I think being able to analyze certain trends, obviously, this entire process of being able to get out, जिनको मतलब jail से literally छोड़ा हो, so you know that is what is happening just now, and that is what we are really experiencing in a lot of these places in terms of where people have been cooped up and just been left open. And the areas that they've been able to literally travel, we've been getting cars from Delhi and Bombay. So people have literally got into their car and driven down from even places like Delhi and Bombay, which are about a 9-hour, 10-hour journey. So those sort of things have been happening. So it's nice to be able to experience those people come in. Weekends have definitely been busy, which is lovely. And so hoping that the government allows and the laws are getting a little bit more flexible in terms of number of people. 18 months is a very long time for any businesses. As we all know, the aviation sector and the hospitality sector, the two sectors that have been most drastically hit, but at the same time, we are also hoping that we may be the last to open, but we will be perhaps the strongest to open as well for the people who've survived. About the future, not so much that I can mention, but we can be hopeful and keeping our fingers crossed, but the past certainly has been the greatest leveler. So people who've been the strongest have come out of this, because tough times certainly will not last for too long, but tough people will. And at the end of the day, I think certain brands have proved that very, very strongly. For example, the Taj is the one that came out, if you look at the Financial Express that released a couple of months ago, which adjourned the Tatas and the Taj as one of the strongest brand that was available. So those were very hopeful things and very positive things that came out in this negative scenario. And at the end, I think the most positive word in the last 18 months was being negative. So, you know, so which is, I think, the greatest takeaway, so which is where we stand and keeping fingers crossed for the future.
So, Sonavi, what's your experiences been like during this period, and otherwise you had Neemrana with 17 properties. How was the profits last year? How do you assure quality standards being consistent? Because I think that's one of the challenges that small boutique traditional hotels do face in terms of keeping up with the F&B and keeping up with the service standards. How do you tackle those?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. For the Neemrana chain, it's been a fantastic learning experience. When we relaunched our hotels in June 2020 after the lockdown, we were extremely proud of the fact that we had managed to retain every single person in our team, because we have always, in all our communications, maintained that they are a part of the Neemrana family. So we said that this is actually a time to stick with the family. So that was the first and foremost a priority for us. The second stage was when we had the protocols that were introduced by the Ministry of Tourism. And our entire team sat together and brainstormed and said, okay, this is something which is definitely possible, because some of our locations are in remote destinations and in the back of beyond. So to be able to introduce everything and monitor it from Delhi was quite a challenge, but nevertheless we overcame that. The occupancy levels have been phenomenal. We have drivable destinations throughout the country. So we've seen a huge I would say loyalty, a factor which has been there in our clientele. And now as we head towards the wedding season, we're extremely happy that while we're not letting our guard down, but at the same time, we have lots of small and intimate weddings, which range from about 150 people to 200 people between Tijara, Neemrana, and our other hotels as well. So we're very, very hopeful that we're going to have a great season ahead.
And you've had a gate run already.
Yes, we have managed to, we made money last year as well. Q2 for us, in fact, has been 30% higher in terms of revenues if we were to compare ourselves with 2019. And in another month, as I was mentioning to you earlier, we will definitely match up with our 2019 revenues. And this has all been possible thanks to the entire team that has worked together. Our corporate team members, our local team members, every single person that has contributed towards making this happen.
Also with the properties that you all have, the dependents, I would like to understand, how do you deal with the intermediaries, your dependents on OTA?
So OTAs, I would say, I take them as my friends, because it's very difficult to part ways with them, and I guess that's, you need to have them on a daily basis. It's only you need to maintain a balance. How much do I need them on what particular day of the year? That's why you need to balance. Slowly, your teams are getting smarter. If I talk right from reservations to the front desk, that when the guest is checking out, and you know this guy has already stayed with you 3 times and is booked through different OTA partners, can I offer him some value add-on for next return? So that's you can say a target is given to the front desk team. Over a period of time, I would say the reservation team is also becoming smarter. We do have our incentive program even for the reservations and even for the front desk team. Is what drives them that I need to convert this guest as my regular guest. If I just take an example of the Roseate house in AeroCity, which is the smallest baby in AeroCity, I would say, compared to the other hotels, but this is the biggest in terms of volume for our all 6 hotels, 216 rooms. My FIT repeat business of this hotel is itself about 23% right now. And in industry standard, it ranges for about 11 to 13%. Is because, I mean, I laugh at times because, at times I have my guests who just walk into the lobby because we call them as the guests who've been spoiled by the employees in the hotel. They'll just walk into the hotel and they'll ask for a room key. No reservation made because they think it's their own hotel. It's like, at times you feel the guests coming to the hotel, they think they own the hotels. On a positive side, I'm talking about. So that conversion is pretty strong with us. And for us, it's more of a word of mouth rather than going and publicizing on the media and the marketing and everything. We are available on the social media because that's a must. But I believe it's more of a word of mouth, and the way Sonavi has said, it's more of the thanks to the team who's been doing this for us. So that's the backbone for me, and that keeps pushing me to take things forward ahead on that.
What is it like for you, Lakshyaraj? You have 10 palaces, 2 of them are with Taj. So obviously their distribution does come into play. But for other properties of yours, how much are you dependent on the OTA and other intermediaries? Or what's your acquisition cost for customers? How do you deal with that?
So at the end of the day, everybody runs on a similar platform and a similar grid. So everybody kind of takes them into play. And as mentioned, getting smarter with technology coming in and all of that. So all those sort of things obviously make a huge difference. But our predominant philosophy has been to be able to promote the destination at large. If the destination does well, rooms will get filled in, people will come in. So at the end of the day, the general approach has been to be able to put your cities or your destination on the world map, and which is where I feel Udaipur, over a longer strategy, has been able to do so.
True.
So for example, the Tatas or the Taj has been one such great association or one such example of being able to take Udaipur to the world as well. So, it has been a very slow, very conscious, a very steady journey that has made sure that we are available and in the eyes of people where it's going to put Udaipur at large to people's eyes and get them there. So the recent publications have also put Udaipur in the top 3 destinations in the world. So those are sort of more powerful avenues and messages that one can actually send out there. And these tactical things are definitely performed by people who are good at all of that, being able to do it on the ground level, which is great. But you need a bigger thinking process, a bigger philosophy that is going to be able to drive them. And I think what is eternal is the ideology. What is eternal is the thought process. What is eternal is the message that you're putting out there to the world. And then this is basically a conversion tool now. Whichever way things end up coming from, we are very happy. Be it weddings, be it FITs, be it whatever. But at the end of the day, the greater point is that Udaipur is out there, Rajasthan is out there. So that is what is spoken about. And you got to keep a bigger appetite and the approach and the greed a little less. So, as it said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. So, so if we keep that philosophy on, there is enough for people to, enough in the pie for people to have.
And what is it like for you, for Sonavi? Are you dependent on the OTA, or your customers directly book with you?
So Neemrana initially was a company that did not have a sales team, did not have a marketing team. They didn't need one. It was all through the expat community that was here and also through word of mouth. But as we've grown to ensure that we have healthy occupancy levels throughout the year, we have a healthy mix in terms of direct clientele. We work with our OTA partners as well. We also work with event companies. We work with corporates. So it's a healthy mix.
No, I want a direct answer.
So I would
Friends,
say
healthy mix, no. How much are you dependent?
So
or
I would
not?
say out of maybe the entire chunk, 60% of our clientele is direct, 20% would be reliance on OTAs, and we're very happy working with them. We have, we have rate parity across all platforms, and the balance 20% would be a healthy mix between events and corporates as well.
Super. From 5 to 50 in 2 years, AMA, and 500 in midterm, it's 100.
Yeah.
Next financial year is amazing. It's such a progress. So you you work in the development team with Suma in Taj. How your experience has been with AMA progressing at this speed?
See, thing with the entire homestay segment is that I think what people were looking for is reliability and consistency. So before players like us came in, you could go to a homestay and have a fantastic experience or a very average experience, and you wouldn't know that till you reach there. So what brands like ours bring in is, you know for a fact that hygiene, safety, security, quality are a given. So there are going to be no surprises there.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, you have a loyalty program, you can even earn points. So then you have the best of all worlds. So yeah, it is a great story.
It is, yes.
And I think while, like Suma mentioned this morning and Mr. Chatwal mentioned yesterday, it was a brand that was started pre-pandemic. But I think what the pandemic has helped is it has accelerated the acceptance of this product across segments. For instance, yesterday there was a panel where Deep Kalra was on the panel, and he said the first time he actually went to a homestay has been in the pandemic. And pre-pandemic, he always thought it was a product more for the youngsters, where you would go, you know, with a bunch of friends and hang there in that villa, drink and have fun. But the pandemic made him try out a homestay in Kasoli, and he's converted now. So I think while this entire segment would have surely grown organically, what the pandemic has done is that it has accelerated the growth rate, and certain customers who would have probably been later adopters are now early adopters.
So it is also a game of scale then in that case to be profitable, is that what you're saying? Because at the end of the day, every business has to be profitable.
Correct.
So is this a scale game for you and for all my friends here?
See, of course it is a scale game, but like it is in every business, all parties have to win, right? So with Ama, for us, your owner, it's a win-win for him because he's associating with a brand. And what does that give him? That gives him great reach, great distribution, reliability, access to our central purchase rates, our loyalty program. In fact, one of the things we bring into Ama is that most of our Amas are within a couple of hours of our hotels. So you also have, a crisis management team at the hotel who would help Ama. So the owner is sorted. For customers, like I mentioned, you have consistency. And for a brand such as ours, of course, when the scale becomes 500 and above, it will make a meaningful difference to the bottom line. But at this point, even when the scale is lower, we still are able to give our customers a different offering. And if we didn't have this, they would probably go somewhere else. So at least we are able to retain them and give them something that is a little differentiated compared to our other hotel products.
So how do you then how do you still inculcate the personalization experience that the guests are looking for when they book, hotels like from the Neemrana group or the HRH group or the Roseate in Rishikesh? How would you ensure that part if you get into scale game?
See, the advantage of larger chains is that you have people, you have processes, you have the bandwidth to do it, right? Ultimately, the larger you grow, you have processes in place, then you should be able to do it. And that's why you come to larger companies, right? Because we have those processes to do it. I mean, we are already operating 200 hotels, right? And over 30,000 rooms. So even if we have 500 Amas, so what are we looking at? Maybe on an average
250 rooms.
Yeah, so that's not...
Yeah,
That's not a crazy amount of scale that we can't deal with.
Kush, you work, you are doing India and you are doing UK.
Correct.
Right, and what have your learnings been from two completely different markets during the pandemic? Otherwise, because your properties are boutique-y, and even the one at the AeroCity is the smallest in the AeroCity, if I have to compare.
True.
So how do you ensure profitability?
So the learning, I would say, from the COVID period has been very simple. Keep your business as transparent as you can. Right now, all 6 hotels are currently owned and managed and run by us. That's the way we want to move ahead also. Yes, we got proposals to manage and even do franchises. We are not into franchise business. We are not going to go that way for surely. Even if you go manage, it's going to be like a small percentage of our chunk of hotels. We definitely want to be the smallest space, but we want to be the best in the market, whatever we do. If I talk about the expansion, it will be like 2 to 3 hotels per year, nothing more than that. We are absolutely clear Even when we launched the brand, we were very clear, and that values continue on that part. If I talk about transparency, I'll give a simple example. So 2 of my HODs are sitting out here. I have not taken an office in my hotels. None of my HODs have an office in the hotel. Everybody has got a flat office space, I would say. We got our smart laptops and smart mobile phones. None of us have an EAs or a PAs in our hotels. So that's the transparency I'm talking about. So even if I would say a doorman or even if a steward has to come and approach me, he doesn't have to knock on the doors. He doesn't have to go through my EA because there's nothing visible or available in the hotels. So when I talk about transparency, it starts from the heart of the house for me. That actually has helped the brand to evolve over the last 5 years. Second for me is the innovation. We've been fortunate enough. I've been blessed to have actually a very young team. So average age strength of my employees is less than 28 years. As I said earlier also, they keep pushing me to do something different what we've never done in the past. And I'll just give you an example. If you stay in any of the hotels, the buffet typically moves out at 10:30 from all the hotels. We made it right from the beginning that if you're staying in any of our hotels in India and UK, your buffet still moves out at 10:30. You miss the buffet, don't worry on that part. So even if you've woken up 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the evening, you walk up to the coffee shop, pick up a menu, order from the QR code, and eat as much in whatever time you want. So if I talk about the flexibility, we've gone to that extent for our guests or that. Innovation, if I talk about, we've just been fortunate to open up our first food cafe, which is in Vasant Kunj, is doing fabulously well. We ventured into the ice skate, as I said, it's all the in-house team who's built the 15,000 square feet area in the Emirates Mall on the 6th floor. We've just done the soft launch 10 days back. It's all being managed, run by the in-house team. We've not outsourced anybody out there. We've got a movie hall in the Roseate house, 71 seats. I would probably again invite everybody to have a look at the, everybody should come to the Key restaurant tonight, where everybody's invited to dine. This is the India's biggest North Indian specialty restaurant in the country right now. 254 covers. We don't do buffets on a day, even if it's full house out there. But tonight, for surely, we wanted to do buffet because we wanted to just show the different experience to all our guests. Innovation, we talk about what we were talking about, obviously, behind the stage. If you go to the resort in the New Delhi, and this has all happened probably COVID time, because that was, for me, the best time to spend a lot of time with my team and come out with various new initiatives and ideas. The water, what we generate for the guests right now in the resort in New Delhi, we generate it from the air. So we pick up the water from the moisture in the air. So we've tied up with a US-based company. It's called a zero water mass. So if you're drinking the water in the resort, it's actually generating from the air. So you don't get these water bottles or the brands which are available in the market. If you talk about Roseate House, the water which you're drinking, even what my team drinks, we drink alkaline water. So I got my own RO water distilled. So we have our own bottling plant right now, which we got installed during the COVID time. So the RO water gets converted into alkaline, and that's what we are serving. So this is the highest quality of water you can get anywhere in the country, in any of the hotels to drink, and that's all free of cost for my guests I'm talking about. So I'm talking about transparency, I'm talking about innovation, and third, keep your business as simple as you can. Because for me, we guys, in any customer industry, we're dealing with customers, and customers are human beings. I'm a customer of somebody, and somebody is a customer of mine. But if I can keep the business as simple as possible, trust me, people will love working with you, dealing with you. And that's what we've actually seen in our own hotels and resorts.
Lakshyaraj, your take on how it will be post-pandemic, your the customers that you are expecting and all, how are you pitching to get them back? Or is there anything that you're doing, especially in terms of marketing, in terms of innovation, in terms of bringing digitization to your properties? Is anything like that on the cards or already implemented? Because yours is more heritage, yours is more, that Indian experience which every guest looks for, even though.
So fortunately, from that perspective, we're really blessed. So we have a 3 square kilometer campus. So one thing that everybody talks about, safe distancing. I think our forefathers and ancestors thought about safe distancing very well a couple of 100 years ago. It's coming to great use now, so which is wonderful. So the great thing that we are being able to portray, and then obviously the channel to be able to get that out to the world is social media. So we're using our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, to be able to get those stories, those concepts out there to people, that it's really safe for you to be able to come. Because obviously the first thing that people are concerned about is their safety. Is there going to be distance, or is it going to be like a circus? So fortunately, from that perspective, there is a lot of confidence that we are going to be able to put out there. The rooms are also spread out as well from a space perspective, so it's not like one next to the other and just completely sorted out. So there are courtyards that are opened up. So we're taking a lot of pictures from that angle, putting out concepts from that angle to be able to show people that it's absolutely safe to be able to come in, to be able to enjoy, and plus they're not hundreds and hundreds of rooms of hotels. So for example, one of our hotels which is in the complex is 35 rooms. So it's again a very small number, but has a lot of space around it. So people feel very, very safe to be able to do it. And even if there are small weddings for say about 100 people or 150 people at this point in time, which is allowed by law for you to be able to do it. So the venues that are used for 700 people or 1,000 people are now being used for 100 people or 150 people. Now it can't really get any better or safer than that. So that has inspired a lot of confidence. And as my colleagues on the stage also mentioned, that the word of mouth post that went out was very, very strong, very, very good. And then the brand value also carries its own reputation with it as well. So that kind of helps. And as things kind of start opening up, normalcy starts coming in, flights start increasing, connectivity starts getting better. Slowly and slowly, obviously, things will start rolling on. So it's just making sure consistently that keeping the information out there, making your customers aware that what is available to them at their doorstep or easily available to them is what we are keeping ourselves busy with on a regular basis.
And how do you work with the community, the entire ecosystem where your hotels, properties are? I understand you also got the 4th Guinness Award recently to...
Yes, that's right. So obviously this is a time where it's not only a time to speak. You know, it's not only something where you only give lectures or you only kind of say how great you are, but this was really a time you actually held hands, you went out there and helped people. So yes, one is very happy and very proud to be able to do it. Great privilege, great honor. I would be lying if I say that I'm not happy. But the greater joy has been the fact to be able to have helped people. And the 4th Guinness that one got very fortunately was in the area of sanitization. So where we did a lot of help to be able to provide a lot of sanitizational products to people of the local community in and around us as well, to be able to keep their hygiene levels, better hygiene standards, better. When everything was shut, things were not available to them. And I'm very happy to be able to share and also thank through this platform as well is the Rajasthan police who came forward to become the distributors and making sure that all the relief material was able to reach everybody around. And as mentioned and very rightly so, not only our staff is our family, but the entire city is also our family. You know, so those are times, and also mentioned by my colleague here, that we are also somebody's customer and somebody's our customer as well. So the same way the entire city kind of comes together, works together, is together. So that way it was really, really nice to be able to show that that camaraderie exists, and we are only not just in vocabulary or in shlokas saying Vasudev Kutumbakam. We are actually practicing that on ground and saying that we are one family.
So Navi, how do you ensure quality standards, and also to Kush as well as Lakshyaraj, manpower issues? That's one of the most critical thing which every company, any industry is facing, especially these days. How do you all manage that aspect?
So Neemrana has always pioneered in generating local employment. So the priority is to generate employment for the village and the direct region that surrounds the hotel. And by this, we firmly believe that we're preventing migration from rural slums to urban slums. So we've had no issues, in fact, for manpower, because our people, majority of them actually walk to work. And we have retained them. We've in fact introduced various things in terms of welfare that, you know, were things that were in the pipeline, but, you know, were not acted upon. So a lot of things have been done to ensure continuity of work and also for their hygiene and their sanitation at home. And we've also been focusing a lot on vaccinating our entire team. I think the entire fraternity here realizes the importance of it. So Neemrana has also ensured that everyone is above board.
Do you have to say the same, Kush, because you have a city hotel? And
Rishikesh, for surely yes, because I had my maximum, I would say 95% of my employees are all from Uttarakhand, out Rishikesh, Haridwar and Dehradun. Delhi, obviously, we got a major chunk from Delhi and NCR regions. COVID time, again, as I said, if I look at my parent company is called as the Bird Group. They've been existing for about 49 years old. We have about an employee strength of 10,000 employees on board. We got 22 companies, 5 verticals. So I'm responsible of one vertical, obviously, hospitality. The value of the company is very simple, right from the inception of 49 years old. Whatever happens, they will never let their employees leave the organization. So we've kept, if I talk about the Bird Group, all in all, we've kept all 10,000 employees on board with us. Hotels, yes, obviously we all understand salary cuts have been there, but we are back into the business right now. We utilize this time also, I would say, so my sales team actually now few of the sales team actually can take a check-in at the front desk now. So when the hotels, we brought both the Delhi hotels into quarantine. So there was always a cash flow to cover up your costs around the clock. So that's how we were able to sail through when obviously the June last year, the business started opening up. We started getting into slowly, obviously profits right now at that point of time. But that's the time we utilize our employees, finishing up their leaves, helping them in whatever manner you can, and obviously utilize them into various other departments to help them, because when there's always a downturn, there's always an upstream also. So we were always looking at that upstream to begin with. So when I utilize them for these skills which they don't have, help them to grow, develop, and obviously when the right time comes, they're only going to be a set for you.
Yeah, so one is the pandemic, the COVID time, and other than that, to retain good, talented staff, how do you do that? How do you manage? Because they would be poached by a brand company, by a manager or an echo.
Yes, I do believe. And to a certain extent, poaching is always important if you ask me. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been to other hotels right now also. There's always it's always important to get fresh eyes, fresh blood into the system. That's absolutely important, I would say. But how much do you want, how much you can let go is all as per your vision or the brand what you're working for. Now, if I give an example of, so 2 years back, just before the COVID, we had to open up our spa in Reading. Reading is about 20 minutes drive from London City. It's a city which is a corporate hub for corporates out there. And that's, our hotel is the only hotel which is right in the center of the Reading city. And we were fortunate enough that we got an opportunity to open up our spa. So our spas are named by Haley. This is, again, a homegrown brand. I was fortunate enough to move my spa director from Indian hotels to out there. And she had spent good 6 months and she opened up a Haley Spa out there. As recent as when we are talking right now, there are 5 of my chefs from 2 Delhi hotels who are moving to UK for 5 years on a work visa permit. So a small brand, but we do a lot of our employees, is because of which we are able to manage and retain our employees. Now, as I just mentioned, with the ice skate opening up, the food cafes opening up, the co-workings open up, there is enough and more opportunities for people who really want to grow in the business.
To add to his point, I think, when it comes to retaining people, in addition, of course, to the fact that you have to create a safe, happy, and, a humane working environment for people. But I think what people really look for is there should be an opportunity to grow. And I think if companies can ensure that you have an opportunity to grow, people will be retained. For instance, here at HICSA, I think Mr. Chatwal mentioned yesterday, Suma mentioned this morning, at the speed at which we are growing, people know that if they stay with us, they have the option of, heading hotels as general managers far earlier than they probably would have otherwise. There are ancillary businesses where, you can maybe try your hand at that. So it's at the end of the day about the opportunity you give people. And in addition to that, if you're a nice, humane employer, like I'm proud to say we are, then I think that's what it is.
How do you manage that, Sonavi, at your group?
Well, we've actually had a fantastic team, because through and through we've had people who've been with us for 22 years that are very senior and know the company inside out. We also continuously try and ensure that we hire and retain new talent. We have a very, very talented new corporate chef and a training head as well. And they've adapted their way of working to the Neemrana style, because the idea is to retain our USP and not to be anyone else. So I think it's a healthy mix, and we've innovated throughout the pandemic, because we never had the concept of room service, because these were forts and palaces. They were built for warfare, not to welcome guests in. And we've adapted our entire way of working. And the idea is always, the focus has always been to ensure that the entire experience of guests is personalized. So right from the time that a guest contacts us at our reservation desk to the time that he is greeted at the hotel and shown his room, there's a lot of personalization that goes in. And we've had a great season with anniversaries, birthdays, like I said, weddings coming up. So it's a healthy mix of senior people guiding us throughout and young talent that is always trying to push us to perform better.
So how much, if I have to ask, how much occupancy levels went up during the pandemic for you? You were closed, Lakshyaraj, so this question doesn't go for you. Kush, did you see a spike in your properties during the pandemic? Do you see it to continue? Most importantly, now when we are opening up.
I do see it to continue because Delhi hotels, as I said, we were always doing good. Rishikesh, it's a very small, unique boutique hotel, 17 villas. I mean, I get good complaints, which are positive complaints that you don't want me to give a room, or probably you just saying that because whenever I call you up, you never have rooms on that.
It is, yeah, that's true.
So that's I would say, I mean, I only see this trend moving up, and that's one of the reasons we actually have the other hill also with us. So we probably next couple of months, we are starting to build up another 32 more villas out there.
So you are seeing that much
Absolutely.
demand even in the near future?
True.
Okay. And are you planning to ever get into management contracts, or you are expanding? At what rate would you be expanding?
We want to grow as slow as possible, as I said earlier, but we don't want to be the biggest, but we want to be the best in the market, whatever we do. I mean, if it's not quality, as a brand, Bird Group, we are not into that. As a Roseate brand, we will never venture into if I'm not able to achieve. So even if I get into the management agreements, if I talk about 10 hotels, I might have one managed hotel, never a franchise, but maximum will be our own hotels, what we want. Right, if I talk about from the owning company out there, they're very passionate that whatever they do, they want to do it at their own pace. And the idea is very simple. We want to make these hotels as profitable as possible, but that can only happen if the employees working in that have a complete trust of what and who and why are they working for. If I have these three simple examples answered, it makes life very simple for everybody.
Lakshyaraj, you have 10 palaces, and what's your vision going forward is? You know, the guests are changing, millennials are coming, will be your new customer, right? How is there any how should I say, any strategy that you guys are adopting to address that age group, because their needs and demands are completely different from what we see right now?
Interesting. So the concept is that we've really worked hard over the last 2 decades, and we've been seeing the result of what we've been doing in the last decade or so, more so than ever before, is for weddings. So we've obviously worked very hard to be able to get that tag, be in that space. So, and that's how our wires are geared and connected. So all the millennials who are coming, or the elderly who are coming, are predominantly coming for a great event. So some of the greatest weddings that the country may have seen, Udaipur may have had a role to play.
True.
So rather than trying to catch hold of independent people and making an event out of a bespoke event, that is really not our forte, personally speaking. So there are others who do that really well. Lake Palace does that really, really well. But our predominant focus has been on venues and great events, larger events, great weddings. So that is what we really specialize in. So within that, it's very, very interesting when you see the bride and groom come and talk and having their requirements. Then you have the elderly come in and talk about their requirements. So we are really looking at the chunk. So that is what we are really hoping and praying for, that comes back again. And by the grace of God, November from that perspective is looking absolutely phenomenal. We probably will have to say the same things that we are booked. Right? So weddings, when they ask us for venues, saying that we need a venue, and we have to unfortunately say that we are sold out. So that is what it is looking. And in every wedding, everybody wants to come and do something different. There has no wedding that has been alike. And I can tell you that people have been so passionate, and in this where we see the synergies of people come together, be it the elderly or the young, that even if there has been a wedding from that particular family, the brother or the sister or the son or the daughter has got married in Udaipur before, even the next child is ready to come back to Udaipur and do their wedding. They don't want to shift the destination either. So when you talk about loyal customers, to this extent that people have gone of saying, and they have choices of the world. Right? The world is their oyster from that perspective. They could have chosen with their eyes closed to put a finger on the map, and they perhaps could have gone to that place and owned it. But whereas they all chose to come back to Udaipur, and sometimes people second marriages within the family of their son or their daughter, or their first child or their second child, and they've all come back. And to some extent, there are 3 weddings that have taken place within the family. There have been 3 children, and all of them have chosen to come back to Udaipur. So that is the sort of connect that the families have had with the place. And by the grace of God, you don't need to look too far when you say, where are the best hotels in the world? You know, some of the 3 of the top hotels in the world come from the city of Udaipur. Now, how many cities in the world can perhaps, boast about that when you look at the top 10 lists of hotels in the world, 3 are coming from Udaipur. And that is where I say the philosophy, the concept, the mindset, the approach of people have to say when they start saying, as far as Udaipur is concerned, that Udaipur is the Venice of the West. It's time that Venice starts saying that we are the Udaipur of the West. So,
Yeah.
you know.
To add to what Lakshyaraj said, given that we are partners and in this era of people wanting experiential travel, what better experience than a palace in the middle of a lake? I think the other consumer mindset that has changed in the recent past is that at one point, if you had to go and do a palace stay, which is fairly expensive, you would be from a certain strata of society where you could afford this. Today, you will even see youngsters who are happy to spend an entire month's earnings just for that one night, because travel and experiences have become such a big thing. They'd probably go stay at Lake Palace a couple of times and then buy a house or a car, rather than the other way around. So I think
I'll add to that. In all honesty, my greatest job has become when people start calling me to say that, can you just get us one table booked at the Lake Palace, please? I'm literally the concierge service. They're calling me and saying, we'll pay, it's not for free, but just get us a table. So, so that aspiration is kind of increasing now in people. There are people who come in to book just for a night or two, saying that humko hotel se bahar nahi jana hai. So that is beginning to come in the mid-30 age group, that people who have been married for some time, just going out with their spouse, or initially engaged, who just want to go out there and not go anywhere else and do anything else.
And they're ready to spend.
And they are ready to spend. So that is kind of coming in. So when you talk about the bespoke service, or you talk about the fact that how are you doing certain things, people are ready to kind of absorb that luxury. And I would steal my grandfather's line here, said that, and they're realizing these facts. So the line that my grandfather used to say was the fact that these palaces were built and lived in before America was discovered. Right? So when we talk about the superpower of the world never came into existence when these palaces were built and people were actually living in these sort of places. Now the young is beginning to associate with tradition. The young is beginning to associate with culture, and more importantly, respect it. So, and that is something I think, according to me, I can sound biased, you can write it all over me, but I think no better brand and a trustworthy brand than the Tatas or the Taj to take that legacy forward, to understand the tradition, to understand that culture, respect it, and present it to the guest.
We would like to take some questions from the audience, if there are any, through the app though. Where are you expanding, Kush? Okay, we have some.
We're looking at, currently, as I said, the Rishikesh is on the expansion note for next year. We are also looking at Goa, entering Goa and Hyderabad in about 1.5 to 2 years' time, opening the properties I'm talking about. There are 2 more in the pipeline. The talks are still on for us. Very small boutique hotels again, up in the north also.
Okay, there's a question to Lakshyaraj. Why all properties are not given to same brand? Is it not difficult to manage your own versus giving it out?
Why are properties not given to same brand? Is it difficult to manage your own? I haven't understood the question.
But is it not difficult to manage your own versus giving it out? You quite have
manage
not understood.
Your own what? Sorry?
He has given 2 properties to
I think
the
what they're
Taj.
asking you is, why didn't you give all to us? Why are you still managing some?
So yes, so 3 generations have been washing dishes now. So from my granddad, my dad to me, what you call, some do it better than you, and there is no harm in accepting it when certain people do a job that you do better than you, to be able to partner with them. And one is very happy to say that 50 years of association just does not come for nothing. It's been the longest standing association in independent India. It's not only limited to the Tatas or not only limited to the House of Mewar. It is a celebration for the entire nation to come together, where two companies have stayed together loyally for this long and renewed an association for another 25 years. So hopefully we would be sitting in the same place celebrating 75 years of togetherness. Today we are sitting celebrating 50 years of togetherness, and there is no harm and no qualms in accepting the fact that then in the 60s, my late grandfather, who had the vision and the thought process of converting our homes to share it with people, and at that point in time, there was nobody else who knew how to do the job better. And you ask me that question today in 2021, does anybody else know who can do that job better for us? I would still say the same answer that my grandfather did 60 years ago, that there is no better person to do that job. And there are 8 other properties that we are trying to manage on our own, which is wonderful. It's a great experience. There was no professional qualification then, but my grandfather sent my dad to get educated internationally. So he went to the United States, got his hoteliering qualifications there. And I went down under to Australia. I did my degree in tourism and hospitality management for 4 years in Australia, and I came back there. So even as a family, we've tried to upgrade our skills. Even as a family, we tried to take certain things forward, not just by the sheer fact of who you were or where you were or how you were born, but yes, at the same time, we developed ourselves, took that certain things forward. And at the end of the day, bringing strengths together is I think, a great thing, and which is, the proof is in the pudding, and that is out there for people to see. And we enjoy the business. So we're doing it because of the fact that we enjoy it, and when you have lovely partners like this, putting two people's strength together to take things forward is always a wonderful thing to do.
Okay. In a smaller setup, do you still believe it's all about the process, or people matter more in this setup?
So it's actually a healthy mix of both. The larger the hotel, the process is the most important factor. But in the smaller hotels, things can be personalized, and there are many guests that interact with a certain person in the reservations team. They would prefer to interact with somebody who serves them. They have a certain comfort factor. So I think it depends on the size of the hotel, but ideally it's a mix of both.
Yeah, I think every hotel is going that way. Ideally, it's a mix of both. But in properties like yours and Lakshyaraj, I think people take more precedence over process, or how does it work for you?
No, for us, obviously, at the end of the day, the process is also dependent on people. So at the end of the day, the circle comes back to the same spot. If there are people are not good, then nothing is going to work.
Right.
At the end of the day, everything is people dependent. We are not a robotic industry. We are a people-based industry. That's why we call ourselves the hospitality industry. So at the end of the day, we've got to be dependent on people. The stronger the person, the better the output, the better the performance, the better the efficiency of the process is going to be, the better the productivity of the process is going to be if the people are great. You get a chimpanzee like me and give me a process, I may not be able to deliver, but you get the right guy to take that process forward, you'll definitely make progresses. And the last 3 years with the Taj is an example.
Well said. With all the large brands getting into the homestay, this is also was my question. What gives you the competitive advantage? Like with AMA, IHCL 500, 100, 60, the number goes increasing every 10th day. How would Neemrana compete with that?
So Neemrana has always believed and followed the principle that the true and ultimate luxury is actually simplicity. And we formed our own rules. I mean, people started talking about organic food a few years ago. Neemrana's been making its own jams in Ramgarh in the hills for the last 25 years. And in terms of personalized services, sit-down dinners, we've been doing things for a very, very long time. So I think there's a lot of scope for growth, and we will build on our strengths. Our strengths are our people, our properties, our food, the entire destination. So I think there's enough out there for everyone, and we're constantly innovating, we're improving our technology as well. COVID has been fantastic from that perspective because we have digital check-ins now. We never had that possibility earlier as well. So there's many things that we've actually done to enhance our user experience right from the time that people contact us. So I think there's a lot of scope out there, and Neemrana will continue to prosper.
Of course it will. But do you think you will share customers?
Pardon me?
Would you share customers? Like, you have been there for a long time
Yes.
in your category of hotels, and so have you. Now with other people coming, yours is completely different, as I would agree. Lakshyaraj, nobody can compete Lake Palace or a couple of your other properties.
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying that. But so how do you have that competitive edge over big groups getting into this space? Kush, you are 6 properties?
6.
I'm not counting your city hotels. Let's talk only about your boutique hotels. How would you compete with them? What would be your strategy?
See, I have a different framework of mind. I don't prefer competing, and for me, on a positive side, I don't see any competition in the market. But, because if you start seeing it, it's endless. But what my team and I always believe in, that I am my own competition. So whatever I've done yesterday, how do I improve on that? I guess that's the only thing which has kept us alive, kept us within 5 years from a homegrown brand to a luxury brand. And I'm going to take it forward for next couple of years, I would say. If I talk about AeroCity, 10 hotels, all 5-star high-end luxury brands, few Indian brands. Do I compete with Marriott? Do I compete with Hyatt, Pullman, Novotel, Aloft? Who do I compete with? Or I just keep competing with me? If I did this process and it has given me results yesterday, now how do I move forward on that part? Is all I believe in on.
And what's the number for selections?
While currently we are about close to 20 hotels.
20 hotels. Yeah, I've stayed in few and they're fabulous. How are you planning to enrich Selections as a brand going forward?
See, Selections is a curated collection of hotels that have their own individual characteristics, and that's why it is unfair and unnecessary to make them conform to brand standards and force fit them into a certain brand. And I think our attempt with Selections is again to give our guests different experiences. Now, some of these most of our selection properties have at least one of the 3 parameters working in their favor, which is either they are in a really nice location, they have some history or nostalgia, or maybe in some cases they have a very different design. So it's a storied collection of hotels, so each hotel tells a story. I mean, if you look at our Savoy in Ooty, it's this beautiful colonial hotel. It's more than about 150 years old. So the whole idea of Selections is to give our guests a set of different experiences. And Selections is also more of a conversion brand. So for the owners, they are able to come into our fold, retain their own identity, retain their brand name. So it's a win-win for both of us.
Do you see any challenge going forward, all 4 of you?
I would say the talent, and I only believe this is going to be, again on the positive side of the report, is going to get worse day by day. One, the quality, with due respect, is very, very getting tougher day by day to figure it out. We got if I talk about the population, the youngest population in the country, the young generation today does not want to save for tomorrow. If I've got my salary on the 1st, by 5th, 6th, 7th, my salary is almost gone. So I want to experience, I want to enjoy life, and I don't know how many, and COVID has proved all of us, right? I don't know where am I heading tomorrow? Is there a tomorrow also not? So they want to spend everything. Now, if I talk about you need manpower for the hotels. Now to have them on board, I can give them the best of the salary, but then what about promotion? I can give them promotion, but about the work environment. Okay, I'll balance the work environment, but what about 5 days a week, working? I give them, but what about 9 hours a day? What about extra incentives? So it's a never-ending task. And I believe this is, for me, is going to be the toughest decision or the challenge which all we as a hoteliers community is going to face. I mean, we are already facing, but it's only going to get tougher day by day. If you look at the hotel management institutes for the last 2 years, thanks to COVID, the intake of the students in the hotel management institutes has gone down. If I was getting 100 people joining the hotel management institutes, there are only 30 or 35 students who are joining right now. So I am already 2 years behind because when these kids pass out after 1.5 years, I already have a massive shortfall of manpower. And when these hotels are coming back, I don't see where's the manpower lying. So it's only going to be massive fight between everybody out here. That's what I see moving ahead.
Do you have the same experience?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with him more. I don't think I'll be foolish to be able to add another statement to it. This is exactly what the problem is at this point in time. People just, and especially the young, they want the job, they want the post, they want the perks, but they don't want to do the job. So, it's something that we are experiencing more and more. The passion and the enthusiasm in it, the gentlemanness in the entire, being the lady in this, all of that is literally now going out of the window. So to be able to, inculcate those values back in them, to be able to work those hours, that it's a 25-hour job and an 8-day week job. That itself, to be able to get through to them is a huge challenge. So that is the problem. Earlier, you didn't face that problem so much, but now if you call them at 7:30 in the evening, 9 out of 10 times the chances would be the phone would be switched off. Or even if you're lucky that it rings, you can be rest assured it's not going to be answered now. Unfortunately, that's not how in the industry that you function. So that is certainly a huge problem, especially the standards that have been set, the expectancies that people have now, and especially for the top dollar that they are going to be paying. You've got to be able to make sure that you deliver what you've said. So these are definitely going to be, and the infighting that is going to begin, because for the last 18 months where people have passed out but have done no work, so that quality as well that is going to come in is going to be another challenge to deal with.
I think one of the biggest challenges going forward is going to be staying relevant, whichever segment you're in, however large, however small you are. Because we are in an environment where your customer is very discerning. His needs are changing by the minute. The environment is changing also. So change is the only constant, and I think the only ones who will survive are the ones who will innovate. I mean, you look at any industry. 2 years back, people were buying Tata Sky. Today, there's Netflix. In every sphere of life, things are changing. So I think it's important for all companies to embrace change and maybe innovate much more.
True. Any other questions we have from the audience?
It will be 4 minutes before time.
So Navi, are you planning to expand? You have 17 properties, you have 4 or 5, I guess, of your own, and then you work with the government on lease, and you also deal with owners. How has it been for you?
It's actually a wonderful mix, because we've had, Tijara is a foremost example, because it was an utter ruin. And at the time that Neemrana was looking at this project, there weren't too many bidders. And today it's transformed into a magical green oasis, on top of a hill. So it's really been a fantastic learning experience for us. And, the entire expertise and the effort that goes into restoring a ruin is something probably that only Neemrana can do. Because if I show you the before and after pictures, it's unbelievable. And as far as expansion is there, certainly we are bidding for various projects across the country, both with the government and with private players as well. So there'll be good news pretty soon.
And are you adding more properties to your portfolio?
Yes, we are. We're constantly on the lookout. We're constantly offered various properties, especially after COVID. In fact, standalone hotels that have not been able to perform as well due to the impact of the inbound tourism, which was greatly impacted. So Neemrana continues, but for us it has to be viable, it has to be heritage, and it has to add to our portfolio.
Are you planning to go international?
We already are international.
With the selections? No, not, of course.
With
urban selection
selections
and
and AMA, maybe not immediately, but selectively we can look at South Asia, but not maybe Europe and all immediately. South Asia, India, I think we're probably limited to that immediately.
With marketing, is there marketing your properties? How do you go about doing that in your own creative ways? Would you like to share that?
So at this point in time, obviously we have our own setup for our hotels that we run, own and manage ourselves. So for that there is an entire system and structure that as any other brand that would have, from marketing offices to running various structures of being able to promote your hotel. So all of that is in our own way, in our own setup is something that is existent. And as I said to you, I think we have more people who work in collaborations to be able to put out the destination out there. And our segment of marketing predominantly as far as the Udaipur region has been concerned, has been in the wedding segment predominantly. So which by the grace of God, more from word of mouth has really spread and established itself over the last decade very, very, very strongly.
Great. So this is what we have for this panel today. If you have any other questions, we'll be happy to answer that for you. No, I guess there are no questions. Would you like to say something?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for being a great audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.